And one of the things that I'm working with a lot of the agents is that we're trying to figure out, what is your elephant account? What is your elephant account? Okay. There's a lot of people out there that hunt squirrels. You have a lot of competitors out there, maybe yourselves at times, hunt squirrels. And then there's people that go after deer, right? And then a number of agents just actually went elk hunting. But not too many people bag a bunch of elephants, okay? Not too many people do that. The thing is you need to have elephant accounts. That would be elephant size accounts for you. It's not just a matter of actually like planning for 2022. It really becomes an issue of creating something that's going to stretch you out so that not only will you potentially not hit it, but even if you don't come close, you're still going to end up having a much better year than you thought. And so she was initially telling me that she thought her elephant account was going to be about 20 grand. I said, well, hold on a second. How many $20,000 accounts do you have? And she kind of went through it and said, well, talk to me about your biggest account. And it was like in the 50s. And then the next biggest account was upper 40s. She had another account or two that were in the 40s. And I said, now hold on a second. That's an elephant account. If that's you only have 2 or 3 or 4 of those out of all of your clients, that becomes your elephant account. Why then do we tend to go much smaller? Why do we accept mediocrity? Why do we accept going small as kind of the norm? And, I've actually been in a number of different sales meetings over the course of the last, few weeks as well. And I was in a sales meeting talking to a few different producers, and it was amazing to me how small their expectations were about what they were going to be able to accomplish. And they were looking at it from the perspective of the geographic territory that they're in. Look, I want to tell you 5 that are on here. There's no reason, regardless of wherever you're at, that you can't absolutely not triple, quadruple the size of whatever it was that you wrote this last year. Literally, hands down. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever that you can't do that. And I'm gonna grab my little trusty calculator here because my math is terrible. And so I need something that helps me out. But I want you to be thinking about where you've been spending your time in 2021 and how you're going to be reversing that curse in 2022. How are you going to change things around? And so I want you to think about some of the things that you've done over the course of this last year that just have not moved the needle. I want you to think about that. Some of the things maybe that you have done that haven't helped you push the needle. Now, some of you may actually be responsible for some service of your accounts as well. You might actually be involved in the servicing of your accounts. That is going to drain you of a lot of time. It is also going to drain you of a lot of the energy to actually prospect. And so you need to be able to compartmentalize it so that you're able to actually take care of the business you want to take care of at the time it needs to be taken care of. But here's the thing. Lots of different agents do different things. Let's say, for example, you put in 40 hours a week. No judgments here, however many hours you guys actually do it. Some people might be working 50 hours, 55. No doubt you 5 on here are like 50, 55-hour employees. You guys are totally in it. Attaboy, Connor. You're totally in it. Paul, I see you nodding your head. Casey's like, yeah, I'm doing like 75, you slackers. But let's just say, for sake of argument here, that you're doing 40 hours a week, okay? If you've got a book of business, I want you just to think for a moment, how much of your time in the average month, average week, whatever it is, are you actually spending doing renewals and service work with your clients? So I want you just to think about that number for a minute. Because whatever that number is in regards to like your typical week, all things considered throughout the year, that's going to deduct from the 40 hours. If, let's just say, it's, we're going to say 40 hours a week, and if you're at, let's just call it 40%, that would be for a 16 hours that you would spend typically in a week dealing with servicing accounts, handling claims, talking to clients, meeting with a client, just kind of like relationship building, going over proposals, doing apps, open enrollment type stuff. All of that comes into play on average, whatever that is. So if it was just the 40% so then 40 hours minus 16, that puts you at 24 hours that you have left in your typical week to actually sell insurance, okay? To do everything else that you're doing other than service and renewal related work. Okay. I don't know what your number is, but let's just say it was that. Look, let's just say, for sake of ease, 50%. Let's say 50% of your time is spent servicing. That's going to leave you 20 hours. Some of you are a little bit newer in the business, and so you have a whole lot more time for prospecting. But I want to ask you, even using an example of 20 hours in a week to actually set aside for prospecting, can we ourselves really look ourselves in the mirror and say, I prospect 20 hours a week? I would suspect, if you're anything like me, a lot of hours get away from you in the week that you don't even realize. Myself, yourselves, we all have a lot of minutes that escape us throughout the week. What if we could somehow harness those minutes and those hours so that we're actually much more productive, right? I was talking with an agent, this must have been at least a month or so ago, and we were talking about his productivity. And he was mentioning that he spends about an hour a day inside his actual agency's system because maybe his account manager, he felt, couldn't do a very good job or was overwhelmed, whatever it was. And so he just felt that he had to do that. And I said, hold on a second. We need to talk about this, because if we just do some basic math here, right? 1 hour times 5 times 50 weeks a year, because you're going to take a break, is 250 hours. It's 250. Now, if you divide that by 8, which is your typical work day, that's 31 work days a year. Not 31 days, 31 work days, which is getting close to about 1.5 months of an entire year, is wasted because he wanted to spend an hour in the system doing something, frankly, that his account manager could have probably have done a much better job than him. Now, look, maybe you're not in the system, but are we spending an hour a day doing other things that are not pushing the needle? I think there is. I think there is in my schedule. I think there is in your schedule. I think there is in everyone's schedule. Again, we're human beings. So then the question is, what can you do to stop the nonsense, to get rid of that margin, if you will, and really start to go like all in, not on cruise control, but pedal to the metal, really going after that specific time? If I can even put this another way, I have this question a lot, usually at the end of the year as well. I've had this question and conversation a lot with a number of insurance agents, is we talk about how much business we expect that we're going to end this year, 2021, how much business we are going to end this year with, right? So whatever that number is, now then I will ask the agent, now let's just kind of brainstorm here for a minute. Let's just kind of like, just think. No judgments here. It is what it is. It's in the past. We're just moving on. But how much do you think you really could have done? I mean, if we would have put in the proper time, how much really could we have done? If we're just giving 50% into actual prospecting, right? Let's say, to use like basic numbers. On that example, someone's working 40 hours, servicing 20, they've got 20 left. How many hours out of the typical week do you really feel that you're actually prospecting? Could it be 5? Could it be 7? Even if it's 10, if it's half that 20, then what that really means is that the person who did 100 grand could have done 200 grand. The difference is that the person allowed 10 hours of their typical week to get away by doing other things that ultimately didn't matter. You know what that does for me? That really kind of kicks me in the pants a little bit. When I start to think about what I could probably accomplish in a year if I really went all out, if I really took the time seriously, I focused the schedule, I focused on my time, I began using it wisely. Imagine what could happen if you 5 went all out when you create your 2022 plan and you don't go small. What could it be? If there is one thing that I really want, for each of my clients, for you five that are on here, like I really want you guys to have a year in 2021 that absolutely knocks your socks off, where you kind of look back and you say, you know what? I can't believe I actually accomplished that. Something that you thought for yourself, like there was no way this could ever happen. I mean, really, 2022 could be a year where you triple your book of business or you multiply it by 12 or whatever you do. Frankly, there really isn't any reason why you can't do that. It really is all up here. It's in my mind. It's what I do or what I don't do. It's what I lack. It's where I fail to actually take control of my calendar. That really becomes the issue. And so, I just really want you five to begin thinking about that. I really want you to take a look at your schedule, what your plan is, and start to ask yourself, can I get more productive with the hours that I have? Everything else set aside. Whatever else the plan is, just take it, move that off to the side. If you did nothing else, if you changed nothing else, but you just took control of the hours that you had this last year, got them back, utilized the exact same script, the exact same accounts, the exact same hit ratio, what would your book of business have been? How much revenue could I have made? How much revenue could you have made? How much could your book of business have increased if we just got more accountable with our own time? I'm telling you, it's hit me in the face left and right. Hit me in the face left and right. Why I love doing all of those, conversations with, these producers like yourselves is because, and frankly, I've had this conversation, I think, with at least 3 of you one-on-one. Okay. So, you can all nod at me because we've had this conversation. And I've had this conversation hundreds of times. At least probably like 40 times in the last couple of weeks. Okay. Why I like it is because it reminds me, wow, the opportunity is great. The opportunity is there. The potential is there. I don't need another plan. What Charles needs is implementation. What Charles needs is execution. Isn't that what you guys need? We can talk about scripts. We can talk about lists. We can talk about different kind of prospects to go after. We can talk about what to say, what not to say, all of that. But at the end of the day, man, the biggest gold mine is what you're doing with your hours. And the second part of that is what's available inside your current clients already. Those two things, what you're doing with your hours right now and what's going on with your current clients. The amount of cross-selling, rounding out, referrals that is there, tremendous.